So, hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Beauty and Brains podcast. Everything about this podcast merges beauty, art, wellness, and science. And I am here today with none other than Kathy of Ammensma Spa in Houston, Texas. Yes. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. So thanks for having me. I'm a registered nurse and I have my master's in nursing. So I'm a nurse educator. I love everything nursing. I love the ability to be able to take care of people and just to learn more about what makes people feel good. Blend that with beauty and skin, and that's how I got here today, basically, in aesthetic medicine.
The perfect merger of art and science. Like Kathy really embodies that merger of art and science. So before we hop into this week's episode, okay, I want to ask you some questions. We're gonna play a game.
Okay.
And this is a game of fact versus fiction. So I'll read a statement and you'll tell me, okay, what's fact? Yep, that's true. Or what's fiction? Like, nah, that's fake. Okay, that's not true.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Right, my first one. Okay, your hair and nails continue to grow after you die.
That is fact, I believe. I mean, I would say it's a fact.
Okay.
Is this going to be like verified? I believe it's a fact because your hair, skin, and nails, right, continue to grow after death because it's one of those things that just keep going. Have I proven this fact? No. But I would say fact.
Okay, so this actually is a fiction.
Oh my God.
But in your defense, it's an illusion.
Okay.
Because the skin retracts as it dehydrates, so it makes the nails appear to be longer than what they are.
Okay, that makes it
So it's not that the nail itself grew. So no.
Okay.
So that's a good one. That's a good one.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, this is another one.
Okay.
So your tongue has different taste zones for sweet, salty, sour, and bitter.
Taste zones?
Yeah, so we got one tongue, but the tongue has different zones for the sweet, salty, bitter, sour.
So I know the tongue has different zones, but I would say it's fiction as far as those things are concerned.
That is correct. Yes. So all taste buds can detect all flavors. Right. So it's not a specific bud that can do salty, sweet. Right. Okay. I'm going to ask you one more.
Okay, let's bring it home. 2 out of 3 is not bad. Let's go.
Okay, I'm interested in what you would say to this one.
Okay.
You should wash your face with hot water to open your pores. Fact or fiction?
So I feel like I'm on like Family Feud because it's really about what the book says versus what I do. So I would say that hot water, does it open the pore? You would need to be under steam. I'm talking about my thoughts. You would need to be under a steam to open the pores, but technically no. So I'm going to say fiction. Okay, so it is fiction. That is true. So it's fiction. It's fiction. So, okay, apparently pores themselves cannot be opened or closed. Yes. But what hot water and steam can do is unclog the pores, thereby making the pore appear to be larger. Or the pore appear. Removing the dirt and the oils can make the pore appear to be smaller. Got you. But if the pore is stuffed with gunk and dirt and oils, it can actually look larger than what it really is. Because it's full of stuff. Because it's full of stuff. Yes. But the idea that the pore itself doesn't open or close, that was a game changer because it's like, well, where have I been all my life? Exactly. I'm thinking, let me get this hot water and then cold water would close it. I'm like dumping my head in ice water. Ice spoons, all the ice globes. And everything, thinking that it's going to close my pore. But apparently like that is not a thing. Oh, like a pseudo type. It's not a thing. Okay. It's just one of those things that we've just been doing. So today's topic is one that I feel like a lot of women of color in particular kind of shy away from. And if they do it, they don't really like to tell people that they do it because I think there's still this sort of contentious relationship between cosmetic enhancements and women of color. So we'll kind of dive into some of that. But this conversation is all about the Botox craze, the filler craze, and some of these cosmetic enhancements that we are now seeing more women of color participating in. Yeah. So for a very long time, these enhancements were seen as something that Caucasian women did. At least that's what a lot of us thought. But now that's changing. And so what do you think has led more women of color to embracing some of these treatments? You know, it's so funny you say that because how I even got into this industry was I was so tired of working at the bedside as a nurse. And I just started like Googling the word nurse and things I like. So I was like, nurse, skin, beauty jobs. And Botox kept coming up. I'm like, what is this? And I started reading about it. Of course, eventually got a job. But I feel like women of color nowadays are learning more about it because they're more aware. There are more people getting into the provider side that look like them. So it's like, okay, I think maybe
I can trust it.
Exactly.
If Kathy's doing it, then I'll go get it, right?
Exactly. And I feel like COVID really spawned a new era of people being aware of themselves, and like, because you really didn't have anything else to do but look at yourselves, whether you're on Zoom and meetings or just in the mirror, like, what else can I do? So yeah, I think that right now women of color are just trying to, like, how can I just improve myself?
On another episode, I was speaking to a guest about how so much more so than in the past, women of color are just really taking care of themselves in comparison to prior generations or even our parents.
Absolutely.
We are getting all of the things.
Everything.
Like the facials, the massages, like everything, and this is no different. I want you to tell me, let's talk a little bit about this debate. So there's this debate about whether some of these procedures enhance your natural beauty or whether they promote unrealistic standards. Where do you stand on that conversation?
Of course, I love a good natural result. And I think it's just like anything, no matter what industry you're in, bad news travels fast, right? So when you hear Botox and filler, you think the most insane result, or Catwoman, football face, whatever you want to call it, you think about the botch stuff first. But truly, I stand on the natural results. Like I always say, the best injectable is undetectable, because you should just look better. Nobody should be able to figure it out. They'll be like, you just look, what did you do? They'll start asking questions.
You look like you take care of yourself.
Exactly. And the girlies that gatekeep, they'll be like, oh, just drinking water, mind my business, but girl, we know that's a little Botox, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, but yeah, I think I stand on the more natural side. Like, I think, we just want you to look like yourself, but just better,
Can you please debunk this myth that Botox, you cannot smile with Botox? Oh my God, like my face is gonna be stiff. Can you please let the people know that Botox is so much more than an inability to smile?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I think where people get a lot of that from was when the Kardashians, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and Kim would cry and like her face wouldn't move naturally, right? So Botox is a medication that goes in the muscle to stop it from moving temporarily. So depending on where you place it and how much you're putting, it's going to relax that muscle. So if you smile, if it's injected in places that controls your smile, so like the corners of my lip go up when I smile, but if I inject in areas that make my lip go up, it's going to go down.
But it's going to do the opposite of what it's naturally doing.
Correct. But a good injector is not going to make you not to be able to smile, right? So Botox is not going to freeze your face unless your injector is intentionally putting a high amount in areas to make you not be able to animate. And we don't want that.
Right. We want to be able to animate. We want to be able to have natural face expressions.
Exactly.
And I feel like, and I'll be honest, like I am a person who gets Botox. This is so funny. So, so when I met Kathy as my client. Kathy came in, and so we were looking at some of my videos. She shared with me what she did, and then she tells me, I noticed in some of your videos, when you smile, your lip, your eye, the corners of your lip, your mouth, they're kind of drooping. I can fix that. And y'all, prior to her saying that to me, I never even noticed it. For one, I never even noticed that I didn't really have a top lip. Let's talk about that. I never really noticed that I did not have a top lip or at the corner of my mouth. And then when she said, this is what sold me. Well, as we age, the corner of our mouth, I said, wait, that all I needed to hear was as we age, the corner of our mouth starts to droop. And I'm like, girl, sign me up.
Yeah.
So I went to my appointment and did all the things. I got my tox. And now up until this point, I was already getting the tox for my masseters. I was getting it because I am a teeth grinder. But I felt so much more comfortable with you doing it as a person of color. Initially, my technician was not a person of color. And so I was just so excited that it made me want to try some of the other things that are out there. And I stand as proof. You can smile. Look, I'm happy.
Yeah, and toxed.
Now I'm sad. Y'all, I'm surprised.
Yeah,
you see,
can still
it's
animate.
moving.
Yeah.
You can still animate. And I'm just so happy that I kind of took control over some of the things that I didn't quite like. Like I never realized that my top lip was so non-existent.
Until you put those pictures
Until
side
I
by
put the
side.
picture side by side. So I
Yeah.
do have tox, no, not tox, filler in my top lip, not in the bottom lip. But I mean, I feel like the results are so natural. Obviously, I have my makeup done. I'm a bit overlined now, but my results are so natural, and no one knows that I got them done. And I just feel so much more confident with a top lip.
Yeah, and you know the crazy thing, especially because you're talking about the lip, and it does look super pretty. And y'all, Dr. Dale got this done like forever ago, but you're looking at like 9 months to a year after, right? And I think when people think lip filler, they think really big out there duck lips. I want lip filler, but I'm so scared it's gonna look like duck lips, right? But this is proof that your lips can look natural.
That they can look natural.
Yeah.
And to be fair, we see a lot of women with a lot of lip filler.
Yeah.
And I really don't know if I think it's necessary to go back more than one time. Like in like not a 9-month period. I feel like mine lasted a decent amount of time. But I do know that there are women who'll go back every 6 months, and they'll go back and they'll go back. And so they do end up with very large lips. And like you said, the bad news just travels faster. It's just like with brows.
Right.
I mean, overwhelmingly, I'm constantly having to explain to clients, like, no, your brows are not going to be black. No, your brows are not going to be super thick, but they see all of those, and that's what stands out to them in comparison to the work that's actually really good. So what is your favorite treatment?
Oh my gosh,
to do?
So I do Botox, I do filler, I do laser, I do all those things, but I think the most satisfying is probably facial balancing. So that's like with filler, per area. So like cheeks, I think the biggest impact I see is when I do the cheeks, because most times when people come in, they're like, I feel like my face is falling, my skin, I just look tired or I look sad and I don't really know what it is. Like, and they'll go like this, like, I need something, you know? So being able to show them like the middle of your face is the foundation of your face. And if I can just give you a little pickup, it helps so much, especially like around the mouth, and just giving a little lift to the sides that are like a little flat. So I would say facial balancing is just my most rewarding treatment to do for people.
So let's talk a little bit about like what the filler does, particularly in the context of the face balance. And you can tell me if I'm right with this.
Okay.
So if your face is longer, then you would add filler on the sides to give it fullness, right? For the balance.
Okay.
And if it's fuller, would you add it more this way to make it longer? Like what is the filler doing to balance the face?
Really good question. So every provider has a different way of assessing someone to see what they need, right? And there's so many different fillers on the market, and then each type of filler behaves in a different way. So when I look at a face, I'm judging it off criteria, because this is still medicine and we still want to base it off of evidence-based practice. So with each area of the face, I'm looking at criteria. So like example for the chin.
Girl,
We know that's it. I know.
We went back and forth.
sensitive subject, but the chin, right? You already know it makes such a big difference when you have a chin. Like I have a post, I'm like, you're not ugly, you just don't have a chin, right? So with criteria, I'm able to say, okay, these are the 3 criteria I'm looking at in order to treat the chin. This is what I'm looking for. Does your chin fall within the masculine, or is it within the feminine? If it's masculine, I was masculine before I got chin filler. I put it in the feminine. Then let's look at how long it is. So different things. So if someone has a long face, they're probably not thinking of, I want to change the shape. Most of what they're thinking about is what their skin looks like on their face, and they want it picked up, if that makes sense. So I focus on kind of giving them that more restored look versus like shape, if that makes sense. Now, let's say I have someone with a fuller face, right? I have a fuller faced, mostly female is what I get for facial balancing. And they're like, I just want a slimmer face, right? Then they'll talk about masseter Botox. And I'll explain to them that Botox goes in the muscle. And if you already don't have full muscles, Botox is a waste of money in your masseters. So I will do mostly like lower face and cheek enhancements to kind of give them that contoured look and more like longer looking face, if you will.
Right. And it's all like illusionary, right?
Oh,
so
absolutely.
we're just utilizing this product to create the illusion of something that's not naturally there. How long do these products tend to last? Can you talk a little bit
Good
about
question.
that?
Absolutely. So most of the fillers on the market can last anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. Now it depends on the product and it depends on where we're placing it. So like, for example, your lips, we move it, we talk, it's going to be metabolizing quicker than others. So I always tell people your lip filler is going to last 6 to 9 months. I do lip filler in 2 sessions and I tell them the first one is for internal hydration. The second one is to get that shape and maintain.
I remember that.
Yes. So dosage equals duration. If you get the right dose, you'll get that longer duration. For areas for more structure, like the cheek, the chin, the jawline, you're looking at longer durations because we're contouring. It's a thicker filler. If you were to squirt it out, it would stand up like a Hershey Kiss. So it's got a little more, and even like the liquid rhinoplasty on the nose, it's really, really thick.
I didn't even know that they had that.
Oh yeah, and it's so thick that sometimes I have patients, most patients that come in for the nose, they're thinking about nose surgery, but they don't want the downtime, right? So they're like, can you just do this? So I had a girl, she came in, she did the nose with filler, and eventually she got the nose job. So she came back for Botox and she was telling me that when she went in for surgery, the surgeon was saying that it took him more time to scrape the filler off of her nasal cavity, the bone, so that he could do the flap and everything or whatever. But when people are like, oh, it doesn't last, I'm like, it does.
Right, it does.
So the right filler and the right place
will last. Oh, wow. I had no idea that there was like this liquid rhinoplasty. There's actually a rise in women of color getting rhinoplasty. I feel like I'm seeing everywhere women getting that service. And what I'm noticing is that people are no longer having to go out of the country. I remember like people would go to Turkey and some of those places, but now like women are actually staying in the United States and getting all these things done. So it's just more of a market I see for these types of services. So do you think that social media, or my question is what influence do you think that social media, celebrity culture, and influencers have had on making these treatments be more accepted in the Black and brown communities? I know that you talked about having a provider that looks like you. I actually have a very interesting story about that. It's not my story. It's actually facts about why there are so few medical providers that are Black and brown. I'll tell you that after this. But what role do you think that social media plays in making it more acceptable?
Yeah, we're literally living in the internet, if you will. I feel like people buy people, and beauty standards change every day. But if you have 2 people that you're looking at to go to for a service, the one that's really beautiful and is Instagrammable, she's got the designer bag, or the other person who maybe just like rolled out of bed, put on her Target sweats, and is just like still cute, but just a day out. You're probably going to pick the one that has a designer bag and has herself put together because that's the standard for beauty, right? I attribute this to Facetune, FaceApp, all those. Everybody wants that perfect image. And I feel like social media plays a huge part in it, not only because people want to say, hey, look at me, I'm cute, but people are getting paid to say, look at me, I'm cute.
I know. They've monetized it,
exactly.
Right?
So it's like an investment for them, right? Even when I got my brows done by you, it was an investment to me because in my mind, girl math told me and by the way, I followed you for like 3 years before I was like, book. But I just love how you do your stuff. So natural. But I told myself, okay, this is girl math. If I get my brows microbladed, that's going to save me at least 10 minutes a day from my morning or afternoon or evening. And I can focus on other things. So I know that social media plays a huge role in like the beauty standard, and I know that more women, especially younger girls that come in, they always say, "I want my face snatched." And if I say, "Show me your inspiration," they're pulling up social media and showing me girls that have snatched face, whether it's face tapped or not.
But it's just what they see.
Correct.
So something that you said that stood out to me about us being more comfortable receiving these services when we have a person of color providing the service. So I did mention before that when I initially got my Botox and first bout with filler, it was not with a person of color. It was with someone that I definitely think was skilled, but I know that when you think about beauty standards and Western beauty versus some of the cultural norms in the African American community, I think that the filler made me look too much unlike myself. And then I came to you and I kind of talked to you about the chin and then initially we dissolved the chin.
Right.
But one thing that's interesting about like this lack of representation and how it can prevent us from getting the services is that if we do not see providers who look like us, it will make us go to other people who will then give us enhancements that are unnatural.
Absolutely.
You know, women of color, like we have fuller lips, we have fuller noses, and seeing a provider who understands that, who understands some of our facial features, is so important. Just like with brows, you know, I work with predominantly African American women, so being able to choose the correct color, being able to choose the correct formula according to skin type plays such a huge role in getting good results.
Yeah.
What do you see in the industry? I feel like I'm seeing more of the girlies who are nurses getting into aesthetics, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I totally agree with you. When I got into aesthetics, it was 2018, and I remember the moment I was working at a med spa, and a girl that looked like me came in and was like, I don't see any marketing material in here that looks like me. And my flappers were gasted because I'm like, you're right. But you know, it wasn't my establishment. I'm like, this is what they give us. And so who am I to tell her like, oh no, I can make you look like this, but I can't show her that.
Right.
So that really was part of the genesis of what made me start NIMS Med Spa, because I wanted a place where people in general of color especially could feel comfortable seeing somebody like them. But you're right. A lot of girlies are leaving the bedside and going into beauty because this is something that they're becoming more aware of. If you post something and you say, hey, I provide this service, and it's something that they're not familiar with, statistics even show that it takes the natural eye, no matter your color, 7 times to see something before they're influenced. Not before you buy, before you're influenced. Now take an African American person.
That is
doubled, sometimes tripled. So
okay, but did you know? Okay, so seriously, along those lines, did you know that there's like a systemic reason why there are so few African American clinicians?
So, are you talking clinicians or dermatologists?
Clinicians, just
In
individuals.
general?
Yeah, pharmacists, nurses. So this is so funny, and this is just in the 1900s, right? So this is not like
So far ago.
super long ago.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you've heard of the Flexner report. So there was a gentleman, last name Flexner. He was tasked with going around and looking at medical schools and facilities that provided medical education.
Okay.
And his task was to judge these facilities by certain criteria. So education, facilities, curriculum. And when he came back, he wrote a report called the Flexner Report. And he recommended that all of the medical schools or schools of medicine that were schools of color be shut down with the exception of 2. And the remaining 2 was the modern day Howard and the modern day Meharry, which is why when you think about how prestigious they are in terms of providing medical education. And so he recommended closing all of the other schools down. And he went to all of the schools in the United States and Canada.
Wow.
So sociologists, economists, they came back and they said, okay, well, had that not have happened, how many people, how many generations of doctors, nurses, clinicians would have been educated had these schools not been closed down? And it was estimated that it resulted in a lack of 30 to 40,000 doctors, nurses, pharmacists getting into the field. So when we look at how that number of 4%, 5% has not changed across generations, that plays a large role. Can you believe that?
Almost. Yes, I can, because and the reason I asked you, like, are we talking dermatologist? Because it's something I've contemplated going into med school to be a dermatologist.
If I were to go, I would be a dermatologist.
Yes, because we're needed so much.
We can go to PA school too.
We can do it. Let's be a dermatologist. Let's go all the way.
Let's go all the way. Let's go take the MCAT. No, seriously,
we can.
I have said that if I was to go back, I would be a dermatologist.
You would be a phenomenal
Hands
one.
down, I would be a dermatologist.
Because I'm sure you've experienced it. You're going to try to make an appointment for a derm. How long do you have to wait?
Girl.
Months at a time.
And it is impossible to almost find one of color.
Absolutely. So I noticed that the Association for Dermatology, they're actually making efforts. They say they're making efforts to increase African Americans becoming dermatologists. So they're estimating in 2027 to double the amount of people being admitted into dermatology schools. Because right now it's very competitive to get into any type of derm school. Even when you graduate med school, to be matched.
Getting a training program,
it's practically impossible. I think acceptance is like 3%. Like you're probably better off going to the MBA. Maybe I know it's 1%, but still, you know what I mean? It's like crazy because it's needed so much, and the skin being the largest organ in the body, it's like, why aren't there more dermatologists?
And it's so funny you say that. When I go to my dermatologist appointment, okay, that appointment lasts like 3 minutes. It's like, wait a minute, I know you of all people should have more to tell me about my skin, but you go in, I'm like, wait, you could have told me this over the phone.
Yes, and
I go in, you take a couple pictures. Oh yeah, we'll just give you. I'll increase the concentration. I'm like, ma'am, no.
Yeah,
I want this.
Analyze my skin.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just this very cookie cutter type of treatment. But a lot of it is just a lack of cultural competence that exists in healthcare, and the relationship that women of color have with our hair and our skin that they just do not understand. I'm like, this 3-minute appointment that I drove way out here we could have talked about this on the phone.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you paid a pretty penny.
Yes, we could have talked about this on the phone. So that this idea of cultural competence in our care and seeing providers who look like us and also qualified providers. This rise in like dental techs and filler techs, I'm like, what is that?
Yeah. Everybody wants to be their own boss, but at what cost? You know? Yeah. So, like I always tell people, it's because I train people to do what I'm doing too, but I focus on nurses because it's still medicine. It's
okay. Thank you so much for that. This is still
we're giving a medication.
Medicine.
Yes. The craziest things could happen. I've had literally people vagal. I've had people have seizures in the chair. But like, if you are, no shade, a bottle girl or something like that, and someone is literally seizing in your chair while you're trying to give lip filler, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
what's your plan?
You don't even know how to identify.
Yes.
And I say that a lot about the microblading industry. I really feel like there should be a higher standard. This is skin. Skin is an organ. We are incising skin and implanting ink under it. Yeah. Like, this is not cosmetic makeup where you can conceal and go and it sits on top of the skin. So I wish some industries, like mine in particular, will have a little bit more of a standard, because I feel like it's just resulting in a lot of unsafe services.
Yeah, for sure.
So luxury. So right now, services like yours and mine are considered to still be a luxury. Yeah. And a lot of the reason why women do not participate in some of these activities that we know can be beneficial is access.
Yeah.
Do you think that these services will continue to be a luxury, or do you think that the industry is trending towards more affordability? And what is your preference for it?
So it's so funny you asked that, because right now that's literally the talk between like the OG injectors and the new ones coming out. Okay. So the OG ones, we know it. You don't have to have any of this to live. Some may argue that you do, but you don't, right? It is not mandatory, right? This is what we call the wellness side of medicine. It's not tertiary. It's not secondary. No, we're not fixing an illness.
Right.
But
girl that drooped mouth. Okay, you're right.
Right, you fixed a little something, but you know what I mean. Okay, so but the newer ones are coming out and they're dropping the prices, right? So that's attractive. Yeah, because I get it. You want clients, you have to get it attractive, but it's taking away from the idea of what we do and the I guess the culture behind it, right? Yeah. Because it is a luxury. It's not something. The stuff. First of all, it costs a lot to buy, right? A lot. So. And if you're running your own business, you have overhead, all those things go into play. Now, there are people that, of course, you can price shop for sure. But for me, if I were going to have someone inject in my face, just like you said, even if it's microblading, I'm going to make sure that's something I really want to do. And I'm going to pick someone that I know I can invest in. And price
wouldn't be a factor.
It would not, because I'm thinking long term.
Right.
So for me, I stand on, to me, it's a luxury service, and I hope it stays a luxury service, because again, and everybody doesn't want this, right? I always say true beauty starts from within. None of this is mandatory. So if you really want it, you're really investing in yourself. So I hope it stays that way.
Right. And we see that on the permanent makeup side as well. Like newer artists come into the industry and they lower the price just for the purposes of the clientele.
Yeah.
But I feel like they always end up coming back to the OG for us to fix and correct. And sometimes it's stuff that you can't fix that you can't correct.
Right.
I mean, going to a dental tech is truly beyond me.
Right.
Allowing someone to do your braces in their home is truly beyond me. But we are seeing this stuff on social media, and and people are buying.
Just for the cost, right?
Yeah, I guess. Or insanity. But I mean, I don't know what else it could be, but cost, insanity, delusion, I don't know. But they're doing it.
Yeah.
They're doing it. So I feel like it does make it harder, but like you, I'm trying to stay the course.
Yeah.
You know, not drop the prices on these services because they are a luxury. And I think it's nothing wrong with saving a little bit in every paycheck to get some of the things that you want. Luxury, but not unobtainable at all. I don't think they're not attainable.
Correct.
It's just something that you probably have to plan.
And you know, you bring up a good point because what you do and what I do, it's not like you see your clients every month or every week. You know what I mean? Where it's like I'm seeing them once a year, sometimes twice a year. Right.
And I think that that's the part, like girl math. If we look at how much we spend on nails, I mean, no, lashes. Lashes is the one. Lashes are like $100 and up at this point. If you went even every other month, you're paying $600, and that's not even a permanent service. And you're going more than once a month. You're getting refills. Nails are expensive. Hair is expensive. But when you come and get your brows done, we're looking at, $500 for an entire year and a half, maybe even up to 2 years, depending upon when you come back. Like my lips stayed. Like I came initially in November of 1 year, and I did not come back until January of the next year. And I did not have to use time taking off work, actually going to the appointment. So even though they seem like they're more expensive, you actually spend less per day.
You actually do
on some Botox than you do on eyelash.
Girl math. Girl math.
That is girl math. All right, so we're actually going to be wrapping this one up pretty soon. But you talked about the OGs and like some of the newer girls coming in. Looking ahead, do you think there will be more inclusivity in the cosmetic industry? And what changes would you like to see in how beauty is defined for women of color?
Yes, I do think there will be more inclusivity when it comes to, especially my field. Just like you said, that cultural competence is really important. And I feel like every day that I wake up, I can be a part of that change. So when I train nurses trying to come into this field, I talk about the different skin types. You know, we always hear like black don't crack or Asian don't raisin, but it do, girl. It do. You know, everybody has fat pads in their face. They will shrink. And if it's important to you, there's ways to get around it. So I think it's important to understand what, like, even when we just talk about the lips, right? Anybody that comes in consult, I'm going to tell you, according to the book made by a person of Caucasian descent, they said the perfect lip is 60-40 ratio, right? But Black women typically want a 50-50 ratio. Hispanic women typically want the bottom lip bigger, so 40-60. So it's so many different things. Of course, it's important to know what the person wants, but as a provider, if you know this demographic prefers this outcome, then
you can better treat.
Exactly.
You can better treat.
Exactly. Right. So I just want to be part of the discussion when hopefully laws will change that have a little bit more foundation on who can do what. Basically.
And hopefully the books will update, and then at some point we'll open the book and we'll see people who look like us in the book, so not important. Just depicted in the book, but teaching and even writing the content of the book as well.
These brands are doing better though.
These brands are doing better. But I heard from someone that the esthetician book, I guess whatever this book is, it's a very common book that is utilized in aesthetic school, is still like using the Fitzpatrick scale or the old Fitzpatrick scale.
Oh, the old one, okay.
With skin type and how the book needs to be changed, and the book was written in some 19-something, I'm not sure. But those things will change, and it'll be forced to change because more people of color are coming into the industries. So I have two questions for you before we wrap up. Okay. What are you happiest about right now?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm happy about a lot of things. I'm so grateful of where I am in life. 2023 and 2024 was crazy. Okay. And I'm just grateful that everything that I've wanted to do for myself, like God is helping me to do that. And I think what brings me the biggest joy is being able to see it come to fruition, and like my students coming back to me and saying like, I tried so many other training programs, you know, the really big ones, but I felt the most impactful when I had one-on-one with you, and like, thank you for being so like patient with me. And to me, that means so much, because this is, I don't know about your industry, but mine's kind of like a mean girl industry. Like nobody really wants to tell you how they got there. But just like I said, like it's so important, especially if you look like me, if you want to do this, for you to have that safe space. So I'm just really happy to have that freedom and flexibility to be able to like do what I want to do, really. So I'm grateful for that.
I mean, having options.
Yes.
Even having options is just such a blessing.
Right.
Last question. What book are you reading right now? Or do you have any book recommendations that you want to share with the people who are watching and listening?
Yes. So I'm really big on like health, but like more of what you put in. Like I love Hippocrates. Like he always said, like let thy food be thy medicine, thy medicine be thy food. So I'm reading The Secrets of People Who Never Get Sick by Gene Stone.
The Secrets of People Who Never Get Sick.
Yeah, like, I'm on the part now where he's just talking about the blue zones, and he's looking at the entire world, right? And these blue zones are parts of the world where people are the healthiest. So I would ask you to guess, but I feel like you already know.
No, I don't.
Okay, where you think blue zones would be? So mostly in Asia.
Okay. Duh.
Asian don't raisin.
Asian don't raisin.
Asia, some parts of Italy.
Okay.
Apart from just going all across the globe, the common denominator of these people were that, of course, they grew their own food. They didn't eat starch, meat, and veggies together. They move. They're intentionally active more than 30 minutes a day. And these people are living the longest. So I think like the longest living people or persons lived in these areas because of these conditions. Now, granted, we can't really control what happens in America, but I think the more knowledge you know about
the more we can participate.
Correct. So
that's a good one.
Yeah.
The Secret of People
Who Never Get Sick.
Never get sick. Yes, I'm going to have to get that one. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This was such a great episode. Thank you so much for coming on. I have gone to Nim's Med Spa. I go all the time. In fact, I want an appointment next week at Nim's Med Spa. She runs such a professional and beautiful practice, and I'll make sure to drop more information down in the comments below so that our audience can book with you and at least come in just for a consultation to know what is available to them. Yeah. So thank you so much for being on this episode.
Thank you for having me. I had so much fun. Yes. Great discussions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This is the Beauty and Brains podcast. Thank you for joining us for yet another episode. I am Dr. Zuri Dale. I am here with Sacred Stone Media. On the production, we have Tina Bass with TB, the brand strategist. You can find her on Instagram. You can actually also find Sacred Stone at Sacred Stone Media. Thank you.